I'm going to show you how to get softer and better blends when giving haircuts. And if you are attempting to cut hair at home, if you're a non-professional, I always say do this at your own risk, but this is scissor over comb. This, in my opinion, is probably one of the best ways to actually blend in certain parts of the hair. Now, can you do a scissor over comb skin fade? Yes. It just requires a lot of skill, a lot of time, a lot of patience. You risk actually cutting someone's scalp, all that. But I always go to scissor over comb when I'm trying to do a blend to where if I'm doing the whole thing by hand, this could be equivalent to like a number 2, number 3, number 4 guard, or even number 5 guard. You can do scissor over comb even on longer lengths like this. You know, it's just a matter of you holding the comb out further from the head. So the closer the comb is to the scalp, the closer and tighter the skin fade is going to be, or the length is going to be. So if I put this right down to the scalp, and I'm going to cut this, you're going to see it's basically going to cut as close to the scalp as possible, right? And if I held it this way, it's going to get even closer. So scissor over comb is something that if you're going to do this really short, then you have to really get that scalp pressed up against the comb pressed against the scalp. Now, if you turn the comb out like this, you can see it's going to leave longer length. But if you actually have the comb flat against the scalp, that is when you're going to get that shorter length. Now, another thing about scissor over comb is you want to try to move the thumb most of the time when cutting. So it's a very seamless motion of just the thumb opening and closing a blade like this. You can even practice when you're cutting. You can see right here, it's mostly, now will you move the upper hand? Yes, but you don't want to chomp down like this. It's really a lot of soft movements this way. That's why it's good when you're using scissors, and these are my scissors, that you have a scissor stop right here and a rubber piece that actually allows it to close at the right time and the right spot. So my first thing is if I'm going to cut scissor over comb, I'm always doing it on dry hair because that is where the hair is going to show the most of what needs to be done, whether it's where the bulk is, any harsh lines that need to be softened up or cut, but having it done on dry hair is the best way to go. Then what I like to do, if someone's first sitting down as a client or so, I always make sure that I comb through any sort of product in the hair, right? I want to comb through this, and this is my carbon comb, by the way. This thing is very solid comb. It gets through the hair nicely. It gets, softens up the hair. Any product that's in it, it helps kind of break through that, so you have an even consistent type of structure when combing. Because if you don't, the comb is just going to get stuck. You're not going to have any place to move it. It's going to keep getting stuck in product. So always make sure that you are combing out that product before you do anything. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to focus in on this area right into here. All right, so I always like to comb down the hair in the direction it goes or straight down because I actually want to see any lines of demarcation or any sort of steps in the hair that need to be worked out. If you comb this hair too much in this direction forward of the way it grows, you're actually not going to see a lot of it because it blends so nicely. So what I always like to do is I like to actually try to create lines in the hair on my own so that I can blend those out, meaning no matter how the client wears the hair, it's going to be a seamless blend. So what I like to do is I like to start with the wider teeth of the comb just to give me a nice softer blend, and it allows for the hair to work through the head nicely. The next thing is always be combing, ABC. You don't ever want to just go like this and then you're done. You always have to comb because again, you're looking for inconsistencies, you're looking for steps, you're looking for things that you need to blend out, and if you don't comb the hair, you're not going to see how it's reacting. So always be combing. Here we go. So I'm trying to match up this length right in through here. And what I'm doing now is I'm seeing that this is matching up as far as this goes, right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work up the head shape, and then I'm going to come back down And what I'm doing is I'm just lightly working my way up, and I'm making sure that the comb is in a consistent manner, and I am slightly pulling the comb away from me to blend it in. Now here you can see that I don't want to keep going up. I want to actually stop, regroup, reset, and start to look for any sort of lines in the hair or things that I can do using scissor over comb to get rid of. And there we go. So now I'm seeing that this needs to be blended in a bit more. So the key to this is just making sure that you are using a consistent cutting motion like so and working your way up. And make sure that you're turning the comb towards you as you work your way up the head shape, because this is what's gonna, it's like when they say when you're using clippers, you want to, kind of work the clipper guard out this way. It's the same thing with the scissors. You want to actually work it out like this. You're rotating the comb so that it allows you to actually have a nice softer blend going from shorter to longer. Now also what I like to do is sometimes I will actually, depending on how the hair grows, I will turn the comb and put it on an angle. And what that does is it gives me like a new perspective and a different outlook on the entire thing. Because if sometimes someone's hair grows a certain way, I go, oh, okay, well the hair grows that way, so I'm gonna go against it this way. And it's a great way to actually, and look how good that came out right there. Look, see how nicely that's comb blended in? Well, this is a really good way to actually see any sort of maybe parts that need to be shorter, any steps. So be really creative and don't be afraid to, go like this, for example, right? Have the comb almost fully vertical because that's maybe what it needs. So be really comfortable with getting the scissors in sync with the comb. Also comb it forward. This is another great one. If sometimes the hair gets a little bit heavy in one area and you need to get it a little bit closer, comb the hair forward, right? And that works really well. Also get really comfortable with working on dry hair, because working on dry hair, like I said, for this is something that's really important. So as I'm working my way up the head shape, I'm starting to feel a resistance here. So now I'm going to regroup and I'm going to comb the hair coming downwards like this. And if you need to, don't be afraid to take, a carbon comb or my anti-static vent brush or something to get through any of that product. And if you are going to wash the client's hair, let's just say it's super dirty, super filthy, just make sure that you blow dry this section. Trust me when I tell you, you'll thank me. Blow dry the section after it's washed and damp, because like I mentioned, you want to have perfectly dry hair for doing scissor over comb, right? So now as we get here, I'm going to comb this hair downwards. Even though I'm working up the head shape, I'm combing down to see any sort of lines of demarcation. And then this is where I can now match that up and start to work this shape upwards. So I'm going to go in tighter with the comb, and then I'm going to slightly rotate the comb towards me as I'm working up the head shape. And here is where you can see I'm lifting and pulling away from the scalp so that I am going to maintain some length. And this is where the magic happens, because this is where you are blending everything in. By moving, you can see I'm working my way around this way, working that comb along the head shape. Really important. And you can see in through here how nicely, I haven't really cut any of this back here, but you can see how nicely this all blends in right in through here. There we go. See? So scissor over comb gives a really nice sharp blend. And if you were doing it on this side, let's just say, for example, that the client comes in and he or she, they say, look, I don't want to really see any skin. I want, something like a soft blend, like maybe you can use scissors the whole time. Okay, totally. That's totally cool. All you do is just do the whole thing, scissor over comb, right? So you're gonna do this on dry hair, and you're gonna just work the scissors up with the comb, and you're gonna establish a nice length, and you're going to just really take your time and keep that thumb moving and work up the head shape. Okay, once you get to a certain point, then you can stop, regroup, and comb the hair back down again. So let's just say we get to about right here. Okay, now let's regroup and go back and comb. So you can see I'm creating a nice soft blend right in through here, but I need to go back and comb it again because, you know, every section is its own kind of area. So, you know, I like to focus really on one area right in through here. I'm not taking, because the scissor only goes so far, right? The scissor only goes so far into the comb. So I can't get all of his hair at once. So pick a spot that you're really going to focus on so that the comb is right in front of you. So I'm not going to comb this here and cut over here. So I'm going to narrow in and really target in on this one area, and this is my cutting zone. So think of it as like a cutting zone that is a place for you to kind of really, really focus in on. And then you just work everything around that one part of the comb, okay? Now you can slide the comb or the scissors down more this way, but then you risk, you know, chopping your thumb off. So what I like to do is just, again, stop, regroup, reset. There's nothing wrong with doing that, and then go back. And here's another thing where you have to lift and get used to turning the comb like this, right? Get really used to turning the comb, like I mentioned before, cutting, you know, forward like this. This is a great one if you're trying to get around the hairline. Comb it forward and then comb it back. It's gonna be really, really, really helpful. Also around the ear, make sure you get right on that scalp and lift like this. Don't be afraid to get really, really close here because the hair likes to hide right behind the ear and it gets really, really bulky. So don't be afraid to like use this almost like if it was a clipper, right? In a sense where you are the clipper, like the comb is the clipper guard, okay? And just work your hand up the head shape, work the comb up the head shape, and just really, really embrace how this is such a nice technique instead of using clippers. Now, which, you know, in my opinion, which grows out best, I have done full haircuts to where I cut the whole thing scissor over comb, and the client would say, and look how soft this is right here. See how nice and blended that is right in through here? Look at that. I mean, it's like seamless. I have had clients say to me, you know, Steven, when you did that scissor over comb on the entire head, dude, the thing grew out so perfect and so soft as compared to the clippers were nice, but it was just a little bit more harsh. And just, I don't know, something about the scissor over comb, the blend was so nice. So really, really, if you want to amp up your skills, and again, it doesn't have to be a skin fade, it could be something where it's like this on the sides, right? Just a short cropped pixie haircut or something. Just get used to scissor over comb if you want to be really, really skilled at short hair. And if you're doing this at home, again, this is a professional technique that you can try and practice on a mannequin if you want, but in all honesty, it's something that just takes a lot of time and a lot of patience and mastery. And also, you're probably wondering what scissors am I using. These are my own scissors. They are 440 steel. You can see right here it has the TheSalonGuy logo right there. So these are good quality scissors. I believe they're like $199 or something. They're 7-inch, and it's got, I always like the straight handle right here. I've always cut with a straight handle. And yeah, I have actually not a whole bunch left. So they're available on my website or even here if you want to purchase them. And I also have a 20% discount code at shop.thesalonguy.com, code YouTube20. I have a full range of cutting tools, combs, brushes, blow dryers, scissors, all that stuff. So let me know if you found this video helpful, and I look forward to helping you perfect your crafts. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon.